Welcome to the MultiREBAR RC Tutorial 2. Before starting Tutorial 2, it is presumed that you've already completed Tutorial 1. The beam in Tutorial 1 is used as the basis for the editing that is covered in this tutorial. If however you wish to start Tutorial 2 now, and you do not have a copy of the beam that was drawn in Tutorial 1, then start a new 1:20 drawing and use the Import Member command to import Member 21 from page 2 of the member library. This tutorial will provide an introduction to some of the many editing tools available within MultiREBAR. We will also be looking at how MultiREBAR member libraries can be used to create and recall typical details. These typical details can then be imported into any drawing and then edited to create a new member type. We will also see how the MultiREBAR bar list information is kept updated throughout the editing process. Please allow at least 25 minutes to complete this tutorial. Before we add the beam that we detailed in Tutorial 1 to our MultiREBAR member library, let's begin by tidying some of the bar labels and tags that we placed earlier. We can move across to the MultiREBAR toolbar and select the label flyout. As we scroll past the different label styles, we are looking for the Move label icon. Once there, we can access the mini flyout and locate the horizontal align icon. Once we release on the icon, we can start by selecting the labels that we wish to align. We can then pick any point on our drawing for the new alignment point for all of our selected labels. We can now enter to restart the command and select the bar tags that we wish to align. And again, we can pick to select the new alignment point for all of our bar tags. We can also use the Move Label command to move a label and its leader to a new location. This can be done with your AutoCAD Ortho setting on or off. Once we pick our new location, the bar label and the leader are repositioned. We can align our bottom labels again using the Horizontal Align command. From Tutorial 1, we know that we can use any AutoCAD Edit command to affect the location of bars and labels. With this in mind, let's use the AutoCAD Move command to move our link marker label into a clear area on our drawing. Now that our drawing looks neater, we can add our detailed beam to our MultiREBAR member library. This command allows you to export a standard member or detail as a drawing file. This is then saved into the MultiREBAR member library directory and can be imported at a later stage using the member import command. The member detail will be saved, complete with all of its bar information. This provides a very flexible approach to parametric standard member details. Before we add our beam detail to the MultiREBAR member library, it is good practice to audit the drawing as covered in Tutorial 1. So let's access the Audit Drawing command from the MultiREBAR bar list toolbar. Again, we can see there are many variables that we can check for, but for now we'll accept the default values and select OK. Our drawing has no warnings or errors, so we can select OK and continue. To add our beam to the MultiREBAR member library, we need to access the MultiREBAR toolbar and look for the member library icon. We will select page 1 of the library. The MultiREBAR member library dialog box now pops up and we can see that we are in the MultiREBAR concrete member library. To add our beam to the library, we will need to select the New button at the bottom of the dialog box. Once selected, the library icons turn red and we are asked to choose a blank icon to which the block will be added. We can select OK and then select the first icon slot on the page. We can now select the objects to add to our library. Notice that we are only going to select our drawn objects and not our bar lists, as all of our associated bar data will automatically be added. Once we have selected all of our objects, we are prompted for our member insertion point. Once we have selected our preferred insertion point, our selected objects and all of our associated bar data will be added to the MultiREBAR member library. We can use the Multi-Draft Construction Lines tool to place a vertical construction line on the drawing. This will help to keep the member we are about to import from the MultiREBAR member library in line with the beam on our drawing. The vertical construction line icon can be found on the Multi-Draft toolbar and is easily found as it is the first one of the many options available from the Multi-Draft Construction Lines flyout. Once selected, we just need to pick on our drawing where we would like our vertical construction line. Before we import our beam from the library, let's just move our existing beam to ensure that we have enough room on our drawing. We are now ready to import the beam that we just added to the MultiREBAR member library. We can access the library icon as before. We can see our beam in the first library icon slot. We can use the zoom option on the dialog box to zoom into the library icon slot, and then select zoom to return us back to the previous view. To import this member into our drawing, we can simply select OK at the bottom of our dialog box. The Import Member Library dialog box now asks us if we wish to rename all the bars on the new member or use the same marks as before. It also asks if we wish to reuse existing similar bars. This is useful if you have a member being imported that has similar marks to the ones already on your drawing. MultiREBAR will then rename the bars on the imported member to match the bar marks already on your drawing. We can accept the default values shown and select OK. MultiREBAR now prompts us for the location of our imported member. Once we have selected our insertion point, the MultiREBAR member summary dialog box pops up. This shows us the current member types that we have on our drawing. We can select the New button to add a new member. We can leave the member ID as presented and select OK. Our new member has now been added to the list. Let's change the number of members from 1 to 5 and then select OK. When prompted, we can choose Yes. We can then place our member title anywhere within our drawing. MultiREBAR now automatically zooms to the bar list in our drawing and is asking where we wish our Beam 2 member to be listed. Just as in Tutorial 1, you will notice small magenta tags to the left of the bar list, and we are being prompted to select the tag where we wish our new member to be listed from. MultiREBAR then zooms us back to our previous view. Now that we have exported and imported our first member from the MultiREBAR member library, let's take a look at the information that has simultaneously been imported into our bar list. To view the bar list, we can scroll along the bar list toolbar until we arrive at the View Bar List icon, as we did in Tutorial 1. Or we could use the hotkey command and type V at the AutoCAD command line. We can also use the Zoom In button on the View Bar List dialog box to inspect our bar list closer. Select the Zoom In button on the dialog box and then select 2 points to indicate our zoom window. We can see that the Beam 2 title and all of its bar information has been imported, and also all of our tags now have the BO2 reference. If we select OK on the View Bar List dialog box, we will be returned to our previous view. We know from Tutorial 1 that we can use any of the AutoCAD edit commands such as copy, mirror, rotate and stretch to edit any of the bars on the drawing. This also applies to editing text, but in this case we will use a different method to demonstrate the multi-draft edit text features. To do this, we need to access the multi-draft toolbar and locate the text tools. There are many options to choose from, but we are going to use the command titled Edit Text. We can now select our section markers and change the letters from A to B. we can then repeat the same command to edit the section reference text on our new member. Now that we have our two beams on the drawing, let's stretch beam 2 and see how MultiREBAR updates the bar and bar list information. We can access the MultiREBAR stretch member command by scrolling along the MultiREBAR outlines toolbar until we reach the stretch member icon. We are now prompted to select corner of edit box and can select the right hand end of our beam 2 as shown. This now brings up the stretch member dialog box. We can use the pick option to pick 2 points on our drawing or type in a value. We can also select an orthogonal direction in which we would like to stretch our beam. We will accept the default values and direction presented and then select OK. MultiREBAR has now stretched our beam 2 and has also found that we have stretched bar mark 05. We can see that all occurrences of bar mark 05 are highlighted in our drawing. As we are only interested in beam 2 bars, we can filter the member selection to only include BO2. You may notice that the Hide Drawing option has been pre-selected for us. The Hide Drawing option helps us to focus our attention on the bar mark being edited and can be toggled as shown. MultiREBAR also lets us know what the new mark number would be if we choose to rename this mark. We will select Rename. MultiREBAR now finds all of the bottom bars that have also been affected. Again, we can filter the member to BO2. We could also zoom into each bar for closer inspection if required. We can see that bar mark 04 in the right-hand span of member BO2 is highlighted, so we can choose to rename this bar. We now see that bar mark 04 in the left-hand span of member BO2 is also highlighted. As this bar was not affected by our stretch command, we can choose to ignore this bar. MultiREBAR has now identified that a range was also stretched, and we will need to highlight the label for this range. The Edit Range Marker dialog box now appears, and we can see that if we leave the bar centers as shown, the number of bars will increase. We will accept the values shown and select OK. As the right span on beam 2 has now been increased, the curtailments of the bars over the support will also need to be increased. As covered in Tutorial 1, we can use the MultiREBAR curtailment calculator to place new cover offsets for our new curtailment points. We can look along our MultiREBAR calculators toolbar and then select the curtailment calculator. As our span has changed, we could use the pick option to pick 2 points or select a dimension or edit the value in the dialog box. Once our span has been changed, if we use Enter, we can see that the curtailment has been recalculated. Once we select OK, the dialog box will disappear and the command line is prompting us to select Object to Offset. We can use our pick box to select the mid-span beam concrete face and then anywhere along the top cover line for the right span. Our new curtailment point has now been placed and we can then enter to finish the command. Now that we have our new curtailment point set, we can use the MultiREBAR stretch bar command to stretch our top mid-span bar on BO2. We can scroll along the MultiREBAR editing toolbar and stop at the stretch bar icon. We can now select the end of the bar to be stretched and pick the new endpoint for this bar. Again, MultiREBAR finds all the occurrences of this bar on the whole drawing. We can again filter our selection to BO2 only and then select Rename. The bar has now been stretched and MultiREBAR has automatically allocated a new bar mark. We could use our AutoCAD Zoom and Pan commands to manually search for specific bar marks. We will use the MultiREBAR ViewBar command to locate bars quickly and easily. We can now scroll along the MultiREBAR bar list toolbar and locate the ViewBar icon. The ViewBar dialog box then appears and we can see many options that can be set. Let's select bar mark 01 from the pop list. And also set the filter so that we only see occurrences of this bar in BO2. Let's also use the zoom option to zoom to 50% of the bar view. If we select OK, we would be returned to our previous view, but we will select Cancel as we want to edit the bar shown. Let's use the Edit Bar command to change the diameter of our bar. From the MultiREBAR Edit toolbar, we can select the Edit Bar icon. The Edit Bar dialog box now appears and we can see many options that can be changed. We could choose to select the bar mark to be edited from the pop list, but we shall use the Select option on the dialog box and select bar mark 01. The Edit Bar dialog box now displays all of bar mark 01's properties. Let's change the size to an H25 bar and then select OK. Again, we can use the Edit dialog box to ignore or rename bars that are highlighted. We will select Ignore until we reach the bar that we wish to change. Then we can select the Rename option. When the Locate dialog box appears, we can accept the values presented and then select OK. Our bar diameter has now been changed, and our bar has also been given a new bar mark, and the label has also been updated to reflect this. As the bar size has been increased, we can check the bar anchorage. We can check the anchorage for our edited bar by using the embedment calculator from our Calculators toolbar. When prompted, we can select the bar to be checked. The Anchorage Calculator toolbar now appears, and we have many options that we can select. We can accept the values shown in the dialog box and then select OK. We can now select the start point for our anchorage and direction, and then MultiREBAR will calculate and indicate the anchorage for this bar. In this case, the bar would need to be increased to achieve the correct anchorage. With this in mind, let's edit the shape and also the bar dimensions to achieve the correct anchorage. Again, we can select the Edit Bar icon from the MultiREBAR Edit toolbar. We can select the bar from the pop list or use the Select option. Once we have the bar information in our Edit Bar dialog box, let's go ahead and change the bar shape to a shapecode 15. MultiREBAR automatically checks to see if the bar meets the current code requirements for the bar diameter and displays messages to show what may need to be changed. Let's change the A dimension by selecting the Pick option and picking 2 points on our drawing. This measurement is then reflected in our dialog box. We can type in a value for our B leg and also do the same for our C leg. And then select OK at the bottom of the dialog box. The Locate Bar dialog box now appears, and just as we covered in Tutorial 1, we can change the fixing point, orientation, location, and justification of the bar. Once we are happy with our bar's new position, orientation and justification, we can select OK on the Locate Bar dialog box. As we have increased the bar size, we can now choose to reduce the quantity of bars from 4 down to 3. We can scroll along the Edit toolbar until we locate the Edit Quantity or Spacing icon. When prompted, we can select the label or range that we wish to change the quantity of bar for. We can see that the area of steel is calculated for 4 bars. As we have increased the bar diameter, we can use the Area Table button on the dialog box to access the full areas of steel tables. We can now change the quantity of bars to the area of steel that was required, or change the quantity of bars. Once we are happy with our selection, we can select OK at the bottom of the dialog box. The label has now been updated. Congratulations! You've now completed the MultiREBAR editing tutorial. Hopefully this has given you an introduction into using some of MultiREBAR's powerful editing commands. It is important that you adapt what you've been shown in this tutorial to your individual detailing requirements, and that you continue to experiment with these commands. And remember to use the Audit Bars command if you're uncertain of the quantities or bar dimensions in the bar list.